What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video, and we're somewhere different. We are in what seems to be Little Paris here in Shenzhen, China, and now's as good a time as any to talk about the OPPO N5. I want to give you the full review on the hardware, the software, and the controversial cameras. So, without further ado, let's go! So, only one place to start. It's the design of the OPPO Find N5. A lot of questions about how thin and light this device is, coming in at 8.9mm folded, thinner than most candy bar devices. And I have to say, of all of the uber thin phones like the Honor Magic V3 and the Vivo X Fold 3 standard version, this is the most premium feeling device. The fact that this phone also has an IP68/69 water resistance rating, if Jamie you pan round here, I would have no concerns whatsoever about throwing this device in that fountain, other than I can't get back because it's closed off. Trust me, I tried. So, durability wise, no concerns whatsoever. The premium materials, the aluminium frame, the glass back, the glass front, I have had no scratches, no issues so far on this device. And I have to talk about the crease, or should I say lack of crease. In any angle, touching it at any point of the screen, you would be forgiven to thinking this was just a tablet, not a foldable phone. Now, the phone itself comes in two colours. The white variant I have here, or black. I like both. I would like a more funky colour, but the global doesn't have the purple. I do like the purple in the Chinese variant. Continuing with the design, we obviously have the central, when folded, camera bump. Triple camera setup, we'll discuss about that later on in the video. But dimensions for the screens. The first foldable phone to have a 6.6-inch outer cover display and an 8.1-inch inner. Both 120Hz, both completely legible in direct sunlight, as you can see here. One thing I do want to touch on just while talking about the kind of hardware of the device, while the screens are big, clear, bright, vibrant, it is a slight disappointment that from the OnePlus Open we have a downgraded speaker system. Not terrible, just when you're paying this amount of money and you've waited 2 years for the latest version, better speakers, or at least the same speakers, would have been nice. So just to summarise my thoughts on the design. I've mentioned this before in previous videos. OPPO had a couple of choices to make when upgrading from the OnePlus Open. Do they want to make this the best camera foldable phone, or do they want to make it the best designed foldable phone? OPPO chose design, and as we'll talk about later, I'm glad they did, because the cameras haven't really sacrificed all too much to get the world's largest and thinnest with the best crease implementation foldable phone I have used to date. So for design, I have to give this like an A-star plus diamond rating. Every time I have this in public, right now there are people looking at it, probably looking at this random Scottish guy, it is a stunner. So well done, OPPO. Now, we do have to discuss software. So, as we venture into the theme park here in Little Paris, let's talk about software. The OPPO Find N5, luckily and conveniently, shares the same software attributes as the OPPO N3 and the OnePlus Open, meaning multitasking is A+ standard. 3 apps side by side, your open canvas, or whatever they're calling it now, with a larger app down below. You can also have 2 floating windows. Copy and paste is easy, app by app. Anything you want to do that you could have done on the OnePlus Open carries over. There's one thing I want to say that ColorOS 15 has implemented that is absolutely game-changing, and this is the Mac integration. With the new OPPO Connect Plus app, you can transfer all your files to your MacBook wirelessly with no issues whatsoever. Absolutely game-changing for a Mac user like myself, wanting to get all this footage transferred over. And then of course, sticking with internals, the OPPO comes with the latest Snapdragon Elite chip, the world's first foldable phone to have the most powerful processor on the planet, and it helps. Pair that with 16GB of DDR5X RAM, there is nothing, and I mean this literally, nothing you cannot do. And yes, I am aware that this is a slightly underclocked version of the 8 Elite chip. Not as powerful as some other candy bar phones with the 8 Elite chip, but trust me, you are not going to notice. Now it's time to talk about the controversial part, the cameras. The triple camera setup on here, I'm just going to get out of the way now, is on paper a downgrade to the 2-year-old OnePlus Open and every other foldable pretty much that has come out in the past 12 months. But there's a caveat. Hardware and paper stats mean nothing when it comes to actual outputs, because 99% of your smartphone's photography is actually to do with processing and software rather than the hardware. So, the triple camera setup is a 50 megapixel main lens and a 50 megapixel 3x optical telephoto with 6x hybrid zoom. Then, yes, the elephant in the room, the 8 megapixel ultra wide. I am not here to tell you this produces stunning pictures. It doesn't. I guess what I'm trying to say about the camera setup is 99% of you will be able to use this for any photo, any video, and any environment you want. Unless you are a true professional photographer that uses your smartphone for your work, you're going to be fine. The 8 megapixel ultra wide has a slight fishbowl look when used at its maximum width. It also does degrade quite rapidly in low light situations. But of the 3 lenses, the ultra wide is the one I use least. I use the main lens and, to be honest, the telephoto lens the most. And with these being slightly larger sensors, as you can see from the examples shooting across the screen now, you can't tell me that these don't look good. I have used many smartphones, and I was one of those people that was skeptical about the hardware specs when I read on paper, but OPPO, Hasselblad, their partnership has gone from strength to strength. Now, I also have to say, that doesn't make it okay. I have in my pocket right now the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, arguably the best camera setup on any smartphone to date, because the hardware is the best and it's got some dang good processing and it's got that Leica partnership. When you compare these two photos side by side in max zoom, in wide and of course ultra wide, there's no comparison. But when you don't have another flagship phone to compare with, you're going to be satisfied with the outputs. And as I mentioned, even in low light, with the telephoto lens, with the wide angle lens, as you can see here, photos are clear, sharp, not too over processed. I did see Shane Craig's video and I have to agree with him completely. If you don't add a photographic style or a filter to tone down the sharpness, the photos are, in some cases, way too bright, way too sharp. Shadows are just eliminated. And for a lot of us here, we want the shadows in our photos because that's what makes them seem more natural. However, to me, that's a software update. OPPO could easily push a software update to lessen the sharpen, or as I mentioned, just choose from one of the 20 different photographic styles in here. As you can see from my examples, I've used a couple. I love the mono one, I love the black and white photos in certain situations. So, ultimately, the camera setup is fine in terms of hardware, but where it absolutely shines is what it can actually produce in the outputs through the processing and software. And before I finish off on cameras, we do have to touch on video recording. It's 4K 60 frames per second on all 3 lenses, and it's capped out at that. You're not getting 120 frames per second, unlike on the Xiaomi. You're not getting 8K, any frames per second, unlike on the Xiaomi. But as I talked about in the design portion of this phone, OPPO have chosen design, form over function. Do you want the world's best candy bar phone for £200 less than arguably the world's best foldable phone? Because it's that you have to make the choice of. Will you get the use of a foldable phone? If the answer is yes, if you use this phone for multitasking, for business, for consuming content, I highly recommend this foldable phone. If you're not a business person that needs 3 apps open at the same time, so if you are that use case where foldable phones aren't necessarily for you, you don't multitask, then buy a candy bar phone. Buy the 15 Ultra. If you're a professional photographer, look at the 15 Ultra, look at the OPPO X7 Ultra, the OPPO X8 Pro, the Vivo. Candy bar phone options go on and on and on. Now, one of the main features and key mind-blowing specs of the OPPO N5 has to be the battery. 5600 milliamp hours achieved with 2 carbon silicon credit card size batteries. This has been the most impressive part of my experience traveling in the airplane for 17 hours with stopover, watching content, listening to music, using GPS, Google Maps here with a VPN in China, all the apps, the payment apps, WeTransfer, WeChat, Alipay, all the things you have to do here, Uber, and this doesn't die. The battery on this has never died in a single day. I still have about 30 to 35% battery after a full day's use. Absolutely impressive from such a thin device. And in foldable phones, we are now at the stage where 5000 milliamp hours is an absolute must. Soon, with the new Vivo, with the new Honor, I expect 6000 milliamp hours, but rest assured, 5600 milliamp hours has been super handy to have. What are my final thoughts? Well, for design, it's the best looking foldable phone I've ever seen. For battery, it's the best battery life on any foldable phone. For software, it's up there with Origin OS. I give this a slight edge purely because I'm a MacBook user. But then we have to talk about the price, and the price is high. The global version comes in at around £1,500. Now, of course, the average dad tech store will have it for 3% off. We will have the cheapest prices, and we have them in stock, and we are shipping now. And when you put it in perspective with the Google Pixel 9 Pro, the Samsung Z Fold, £1,500 is actually quite a good deal for the world's thinnest and, in my opinion, one of, if not the best foldable phones. But I know that in 1 month or 2 months, Honor will release their new V5, Vivo will release the X Fold 5. So should you rush out and buy this if you are interested in the Vivo or Honor? Probably not. Probably hold on to whatever phone you've got for just a few weeks longer and see what Honor and Vivo do. However, if you are impatient, like myself, and you want to try the N5, I can promise you, you will not be disappointed. So, hopefully you've enjoyed this slightly different location, this slightly different video. I'll be back soon with a deep dive on the cameras of the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. I will also be dropping my full review and a comparison between the 15 Ultra and the S25 Ultra. I'll have more content on this. And as mentioned, very, very soon, we will have the Vivo X Fold 5 and the Honor Magic V5. If you haven't already, smash subscribe, hit the like button, comment down below. Thank you to James for filming, and until next time,